It worked for me. And interestingly, seeing studies these days, the average American who actually is healthy and fit and has a good weight earns more than 28% than the average person who doesn't, than statistically obese. And we can probably talk about, health complications, disease, and obesity. The average person who is statistically overweight or obese spends over $1,500 a year in extra healthcare costs than the person who's healthy and fit. Interesting. It's so funny being the CEO of the brand, and we're shooting this at the very end of 2022. When I first moved to California, it was 2005. And this was just after the 10 years I just was articulating living in Michigan. I put myself through school. I went to Michigan State, and I got a job opportunity. Initially, it was an internship and then turned into a full-time job in Southern California. And I was very excited to make the move. Certainly had a good experience in Michigan. I always say this, a great place, amazing, salt-of-the-earth people, but not the fitness capital of the world. And I think for two reasons. One, my family, as I just mentioned, came from very humble beginnings for first world standards. And I always say this because life's about perspective. And in my later adulthood, or early adulthood, I should say, later years, I ended up moving to South America for 2 years. And actually at that point, I saw real poverty. And I saw, okay, first world standards are very different than third world standards. And I think that's really an important message as well. Comparison is a thief of joy, right. I feel, in life. So that's a great message for our audience as well. But in any case, coming from humble beginnings, Taco Bell and fast food is much cheaper, more affordable than some healthy foods, even though long-term it's not, the right way to go and sustainable. But between that and also too, just the culture, really, we were athletic. My mom put us in sports to kind of keep us out of trouble and keep us off drugs, as she mentioned. Really, nutrition wasn't a big focal point in our family, especially my mom being a single mom, working a few jobs. She just was trying to put, get by and put food on the table. Right. So good, clean nutrition wasn't a focal point for us. So in any case, when I moved to California in 2005, I was excited to be in LA, the palm trees, the blue skies, all that LA has to offer. But I always share this, it's also can be the plastic capital of the world, especially when you're 21. You have very little friend network. You're living 3,000 miles from home. Fitness was not a major, part of my life. I didn't have the energy, the confidence, the enthusiasm that I do now. And I just didn't have fitness actually. And I lived, that way for the following couple years. And I certainly had good days, but very, very candid. I had more dark days than good. And then a fortuitous situation happened, which really exposed me to the fitness industry, at least living a healthy, fit life. My first fitness mentor was a close friend from college. His name was Adam. He moved out to Southern California, and we actually lived together. And that's kind of how my start in the fitness realm began. And a little bit about Adam. He was not on the cover of Men's Health, but he could have been. He had the six-pack abs, the glistening muscles, all the confidence, the energy. All the girls loved him. I certainly looked up to that. And we lived together for the better part of 2 years. And embarrassingly enough, when I look back, and this is early 2007, it took me, Mary Katherine, probably about 3 months to finally muster up enough courage to say, Adam, can you show me a little bit of this fitness game that you've been doing? Because I was, self-conscious and I didn't have that level of confidence. I saw what he was doing, but I just didn't think it was attainable for me. So he turned to me and said, Bryce, I thought you never ask. But the rules of engagement here, I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time. You saw how many friends at college asked me how to lift weights and work out and clean eat, and how many actually stuck with it. And the answer was virtually zero. So he said, I want you to commit to me for 12 weeks that you're going to do whatever I want you to do. You're going to lift what I want you to lift. You're going to eat what I want you to eat. You're going to train how I want you to train. And after that 12 weeks, I feel confident that you're going to really see the result. But if you don't, that's okay. At least you gave it a fair shot. Because again, I don't want to waste anyone's time here. And that was basically the level of expectation to begin with. And I think it's actually very serendipitous that our bootcamp, Fit Body Bootcamp, has a 12-week ultimate transformation program. And I think that's a really good coaching link to showcase someone that, hey, this program works. In the famous words of Tony Robbins, progress equals motivation. So not to say that most of our global clients are going to all of a sudden go from body A to body B, their dream body, in 12 weeks, but at least actually show them enough insight that, hey, this is actually working. And again, progress equals motivation. Once you see a little bit more progress, then you become motivated. And that was the same for me. I really trained with Adam for 2 years, but really it was a 6-month focus that I really made the transformation. And really, did I completely transform my physique in 12 weeks? No. But I saw enough where I was like, oh, this is actually working. And really within 6 months, I dropped 20 pounds of body fat. Oh. I put on 20 pounds of lean muscle. Okay. Interestingly enough, and I love the show Beyond the Scale, I actually weighed the same amount both before transformation and after transformation. But when you look at my before and after picture, completely different. So I think that's from a body composition perspective, there's a lot to be learned there as well. But also too, from a lifestyle perspective, as I mentioned, I got an internship in LA. That's what brought me out, which turned into a full-time job, and it was a sales gig. And I went from the lowest performing sales rep in my company all the way to the highest performing sales rep in my company within 12 months.
As you were doing that transformation?
The only thing that changed was my fitness.
Yeah.
So when people ask me, Mary Katherine, Bryce, I get it, I see it, but I just can't afford your program. I can't afford to be fit. And my response is you can't afford not to be fit.
Yeah.
And it worked for me. And interestingly, seeing studies these days, the average American who actually is healthy and fit and has a good weight earns more than 28% than the average person who doesn't, than statistically obese. And we can probably talk about, health complications, disease, and obesity. The average person who is statistically overweight or obese spends over $1,500 a year in extra healthcare costs than the person who's healthy and fit. So it just reinforces that message. And again, fitness is important. And yes, you need to be able to, track, your progress, and, the weight is one aspect, but fitness is way more than that. And that's really a big message that I wanted to share. And really, Mary Katherine, that's kind of how I got my first fitness transformation. And that really leads me to, I guess, becoming a Fit Body Bootcamp owner, which I guess I'll now.
Yeah. Now, I love what you said about how you gained 20 pounds of muscle, you lost 20 pounds of body fat, and your weight stayed the same, but your body composition changed. I've had a similar experience. After I had my daughter, she's 4 now, but after I had my daughter, I was very heavily involved in coaching in our studio at the time. So I was coaching 5 sessions a day. I was also working out on top of that. And I got down to a very low body fat percentage. And I actually had a goal, I had a body fat percentage goal, and I got below that. And I felt great. But honestly, looking back, my body composition back then is not what I look like today. And I actually weigh the same that I did back then, but I actually like the way I look now more than the way I did 3 years ago.
You're more toned. You have some lean muscle mass.
My body composition has changed so many times. I've been pregnant twice. I've had 2 children in the last 4 years, but I'm still at that same weight that I've been for the last 4 years, but my body composition has changed so much. And I think so many of our clients at the gym, it's they get so honed in on that number on the scale. And I just try to tell them, listen, what's your goal? You want to be more lean? You want to have more muscle? You want to feel stronger? You want to have more energy? Let's not worry about that number. Let's worry about lifting in the gym. Let's be able to lift your child.